And now our second speaker, code 3235, blood in the water.
All right, I'll say it. Cinema peaked in 2012. I know the last decade has brought us the likes of Moonlight, Parasite, and the Lego Batman movie. But nothing will ever top the masterpiece that was The Lorax. Catchy songs, an all-star cast, the start of my 4-year crush on beloved actor and lauded short king Danny DeVito. The movie was also a threat, portraying an unfathomable alternate future where this guy makes a fortune by selling bottles of breathable air. Can you imagine? An entire industry based on commodifying a naturally occurring substance necessary for life and... Oh. Yikes. Maybe this situation isn't so unfathomable after all. It's time we talk about water, specifically its scarcity, ownership, and conflict. In other words, where is it, who owns it, and who's fighting for it? UNICEF reports that as soon as 2025, half of the world's population could be living in areas facing freshwater scarcity. Take that with a report from the American Journal for Public Health that inadequate access to safe freshwater contributes to waterborne disease, malnutrition, poverty, and economic instability, and I'm running for the truffle trees. In the words of Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist William Finnegan, the world is running out of fresh water, and the fight to control it has begun. So let's go with the flow and learn about the limitations on fresh water, what it even means to control it, and how it's been playing out. So get ready for me, the bag of water, to tell you, bags of water, about a resource fundamental to life on Earth. Because if we run out, what are we gonna do? But Tess, Miss Stevenson said it's impossible for water to disappear because it all comes back through the water cycle. Well, Miss Stevenson lied. Apparently, just because water flows cyclically, that doesn't mean it all stays available. To understand why, we have to go to Hydrology 101. Start with a body of water. Blast it with some sunshine, and the heat induces evaporation, so we get clouds. When they get too heavy, the water falls out, and just like showbiz, we're singing in the rain. That rain refills our lake, and boom, back to square one. But what if a human drank and then peed out the lake water? And instead of rejoining that area's water cycle, it's aimed by fancy sewer systems to the ocean, where it'll cycle as undrinkable salt water. Then say a human paves over the soil with an impermeable shell of concrete. When rainwater can't easily soak into the ground, it's also left with nowhere to go but to the ocean, where it also becomes undrinkable. So sure, it all stays on Earth, but no one can safely bathe their children in sewage or mix baby formula with seawater. So although the Earth's water supply is, in theory, massive, our stupid bodies are pretty picky about what quenches our thirst versus what gives us cholera. According to the United States Reclamation Bureau, 97% of Earth's water is salty. Of that remaining 3% fresh water, most of it is locked up in frozen ice caps or hard-to-reach groundwater. That leaves about 0.3% in rivers, lakes, and swamps, much of which is being polluted beyond use. Put another way, if Earth's entire water supply was one of these 5-gallon jugs, the amount actually usable by humans would be 1/10 of a teaspoon. Additionally, we pump out groundwater at a much higher rate than it can recharge by natural seepage, leading to scenes like my home state of Florida in 1981, when a giant sinkhole swallowed, quote, at least 5 Porsches in Winter Park. Millions of dollars of sports cars lost to a gaping pit in the middle of a paved-over swamp city is the most Florida thing ever. But our bedrock is turning to Swiss cheese all over the world. This is India, South Africa, and Turkey. When over 99% of the blue on our blue marble is unusable, it's no wonder things get complicated. So how do we share the little that we've got? Turns out, that's a pretty big question. For most of human history, water was considered a fundamental human right and common pool resource. That's something that we all share with the collective agreement that it would suck if anyone took too much. That said, regulatory commissions gotta regulate, so governments still had ultimate control over the water within their borders. That is, until the French realized that their water system could be insanely profitable if made multinational. But wait, how can a country's rules for how to share a common resource be applied outside that country? Well, it helps to stop calling it a human right, which is what happened in 1981 at the International Conference on Water and the Environment, where, for the first time, water was named an economic good. This new framework set up a game board where utilities giants and corporations could play hungry, hungry hippos with the water systems of cities around the world. One such city is San Cristobal, Mexico. There, residents face a perfect storm of water sovereignty challenges. And in this storm, it's raining Coca-Cola. The bottling plant there has permits to extract over 300,000 gallons of water per day from local sources, leaving residents reliant on the vastly more accessible Coke. This has amounted to a 30% increase in the mortality rate from diabetes over just a 3-year period. But that phenomenon is far from exclusive to southern Mexico. Using tools from the World Resource Institute, it's estimated that 40% of Coca-Cola's global supply happens in extremely water-stressed regions. It's clear, owning water has shifted from a collective experience to a geopolitical gold rush. Except, unlike gold, we'd all actually die without water. So when it runs dry, many end up dying for it. In April of 2000, 17-year-old Victor Hugo Daza was fatally shot when violence broke out in Cochabamba, Bolivia, in a fight against corporate encroachment on the city's water rights. As explained in the World Economic Forum, its importance as a resource means that water-related insecurity can easily exacerbate tension, both within and between countries. And that's already happening. Oakland's Pacific Institute compiled a water conflict chronology, detailing hundreds of incidents. 2019, 50,000 people flee their homes in central Mali as conflict escalates over access to water. 2018, air raids in Yemen target fountains, wells, and a desalination plant. 2007, a man in Australia stabs his neighbor to death over Sydney's water restrictions. In 2017 alone, water played a key role in conflict in at least 45 countries, including the US. As the resource becomes even scarcer, tensions will continue to rise. And across the globe, people may begin to smell the blood in the water and fight back. This conflict in Cochabamba, Bechtel was the utilities giant seeking a $50 million settlement for the revolt. But after years of public protest, they reported settling for a token payment of 30 cents. The people won, and this isn't an anomaly. Native resistance to overpumping, pollution, and pipelines has consistently proven successful. It was indigenous land stewardship behind the Water is Life campaign, where water protectors prevented the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. The water protectors said it right. Water is life, and that's worth protecting. So I stand by my assertion that film as an art form peaked with the Lorax. And while I don't exactly expect to see bottles of air anytime soon, when it comes to water, we know it's important to dig deep, but not too deep. Lorax knows we don't need another sinkhole. The need for water is something that all humans have in common. So keep learning, stay thirsty, and drink up.